Hello! It's time for another episode of Fab or Fail. And it doesn't look very promising, but Christmas happened. So this is what is left, but you'll see a little bit later in the video that at some point this did look much better. What is this, you might be thinking? It is a Cherpumpple. Oh yeah. Now, before you say, hey T, you are late to the party. Oh, I know. I am consistent. And once again, recreating something that is no longer trendy. This was, 5 years ago? 4 years ago? I don't even remember how long ago this masterpiece was circling the net. But it was shortly after the turducken. I'm pretty sure this is the unholy dessert offspring of that idea. Keep watching to find out how I constructed this and whether it was easy or not and what the actual finished product looked like. And then we will come back for a taste test and the overall assessment of whether this was fab or a fail. Hello and welcome to my kitchen. The pans have been prepped, sprayed, floured with parchment in the bottom. Eggs are ready to go for 2 of the layers. Got the measuring cup, a bowl and a whisk, and the main ingredients. Cherry pie, pumpkin pie, no, apple pie, pumpkin pie, chocolate cake, French vanilla cake, and spice cake. They are all going to come together to make a Cherpumpple, which I hope is good, because this is going to be bigger than I expected. Special thanks for this process goes to my hubby for running out and grabbing the ingredients, and my daughter, who will be helping to construct everything. Like my apron. I liked Boba Fett before it was cool. No, I'm just kidding. It's always been cool to like Boba Fett. But I've had this since before The Mandalorian. I just thought, yeah. Chocolate cake, all mixed up and ready to go. We're going to pour some into the prepared tin. Shake it around and just make sure that the cake is completely covering the bottom. And we have the cherry pie. I'm going to put the cherry pie in the chocolate cake because I think that's going to be the best. Chocolate covered cherries, black forest cake. Now I have seen people mixing it up and putting like the pumpkin in the chocolate and the apple in the spice and the whatever. So this is just the way I'm doing it. We're going to take the pie out of the tin, like so. And then this goes in the cake. And now we cover with mix. I'm already a little scared. I don't usually put an entire thing of batter in one tin, but I want to make sure that the pie is covered. This is going to go on a cookie sheet in the oven in case it all over the place. I don't want to clean up that mess. Okay, chocolate is done. Before I put this in the oven, I'm going to make the apple-filled cake and bake them both at the same time. So I'm going to clean up this mess and start in on that. One-handed. Oh yeah, I'm awesome. Actually, that's easier than I thought it would be. I've seen television chefs do that for like decades, and I always thought, oh, that must be so difficult. It really isn't. Okay, for this next layer, I have a French vanilla cake. I'm going to start by pouring a layer, zhuzhing it around until it fills the bottom of the pan. The next pie is the apple pie. It's going to go in this layer. Now, the reason I'm cooking only 2 pies at a time is because I only have 2 cake pans. Otherwise, I'd cook all 3. And I'm putting the cherry and apple in the oven at the same time because they're both the same 2-layer crust pie. So I think they'll cook similarly. Whereas the pumpkin, I don't know. I've never made this spice cake. And pumpkin only has 1 layer of crust. So that one's our wild card. Not that I know how any of this is going to turn out. Okay, detin the apple, and it goes in. Cake batter on top. I have a cookie sheet here with some parchment on top. I'm going to put the pie or the cake pan on that again in case it all over. And over into the oven they will go. The oven is preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in any other temperature setting. Fahrenheit is what we use here, and that's what I'm familiar with. And they're going to be cooked according to the cake instructions, but I'm going to knock off 5 minutes, which I usually do anyway. So if a cake needs 25 to 30 minutes, I put it in for 20 minutes, and then that last 5 minutes, I periodically check just to make sure that it doesn't get overcooked. So that's the plan now. Here are the apple and cherry out of the oven. They both overflowed. I don't know if that one's actually cooked. This one, I'm a little more sure, but I don't know. Time to see if I can get them out of the pan. Alright, there's the apple with a lovely little divot in the middle where the pie is, and it's still kind of squishy. The rest of it looks good though. And the cherry in the chocolate pie also, or the cherry pie in the chocolate cake, also with a divot, but it was getting a little overcooked on the edges. So, I don't know. They don't look as pretty as I have seen them look. Maybe I'm doing this wrong. Maybe it's a failed recipe from the start. We shall see either way. Different outfit, same day. I just got dressed. This spice cake smells really good. There's the pumpkin. All done. Got a nice crust. And it looks infinitely better than the other two. The secret might have been cooking them one at a time. I don't know. I put the chocolate cake back in the oven and it has firmed up quite nicely. Might be slightly overcooked, but I don't even care, at least it's not raw. The French vanilla cake, a little crunchier around the edges, still quite soft and divotty in the middle. I don't know if that's because of the apples in the apple pie, because they're rather wet compared to, say, cherry or pumpkin. It looks better. It could look even better still, but I wanted to be honest about this process. The pumpkin turned out well. These two had to go back in the oven. This is not turning out to be as simple as the recipes made it out to be. As you saw in the previous clip, this was cut up and eaten during Christmas dinner with the in-laws. Hence why I didn't talk, because filming my eating and reaction was awkward enough as it was, without doing the whole video process. So as you can see, now that we have better lighting, the inside, you can see each layer: the chocolate cake with the cherry pie, the spice cake with the pumpkin pie, and the vanilla cake with the apple pie. And it's all covered and smushed with layers of cream cheese frosting. Okay, so let's rate this. What's the experience? So after one meal with the in-laws and some leftovers. There's still a lot left. This is substantial. I would highly recommend, if you're going to try to make this yourself, make it when you're serving up dessert for like a huge party, when you've got all the family over or all your friends over. So clearly this was not a 2020 friendly dessert. It needs more people to be enjoyed. Also, the middle looks a little, because, okay, so this was my biggest problem with this creation. You can't cut the slices too small. If you cut the slices like small enough that you can eat the whole slice comfortably, it falls apart. If you're cutting a slice big enough that like here's the, you get a nice cross section as opposed to everything crumbling and falling apart. If you're getting a slice that stays together and you can put it on a plate and it looks beautiful and you can take a picture of it and post it on Instagram and Pinterest and whatever, that size of a slice it's quite frankly, it's too big. None of us, me, hubby, the kids, the in-laws, none of us could finish a full slice unless it was, small and crumbled and fell apart, and then it didn't look pretty, but it still tasted good. Okay, so heft, this thing in its completion weighed as much as a large baby. It was probably about 10 pounds. Yeah, this is not a dessert for the faint of heart. As for the taste, though, once I got over the hurdle of the cake layers not being cooked properly, and that's something else I would recommend, you're going to need a long time. I thought, oh, it's going to take like 20 minutes to cook a layer and make it. I could do this, in a day and, get like half of it started in the morning, go out for my walk and visit, a good friend, and then come back and finish it in the evening. No, by the time I got this, well, I basically just had to figure out a way to keep it like covered and contained and whatever, so I could go to sleep at midnight. And then I got up and finished it the next day. This is a beast. It needs, it needs time to make, because you need to cook the layers longer than you would a regular cake. And I think part of that is because of the moisture from the pies, from the fillings. And I used prepared pies. I've seen recipes that recommend using a frozen pie. You cook that and then you put it in the cake and cook that. You'd need like a week to make it that way, I imagine. I used the prepared, pre-cooked, ready-to-eat pies, and that already took a long time. So I recommend using ready-made pies as opposed to frozen pies. And the size I got, the smaller version from Walmart. I don't recommend supporting Walmart, but that size was perfect. And then I didn't have to get a special, bigger, deeper, whatever. I could use my standard pie tin. And this top layer doesn't want to stay. Again. Okay, so before this collapses completely, again, we'll wrap things up here. Cherpumpple, it's a little daunting and overwhelming the first time you make it, but is it worth the effort? Oh yeah. Oh, very much. And cake has eggs and milk and flour. That's kind of healthy, and the pies have fruit. This is totally appropriate for a Boxing Day breakfast. Or Christmas Eve, nice and festive. It's technically got your grains and your milk and your dairy and your fruit, and it's breakfast. Cup of tea, a little slice of cake. It's Hobbit approved anyway. So yes, Cherpumpple, it's fab. It may look like a fail, but it's fab. Highly recommend. I can see why this was a trend. and I'm glad that I eventually got on it. Okay, that's it for me. I think I'm going to have a slice of Cherpumpple for breakfast. I like that idea. I'm going to go brew some tea and cut myself a slice, and until the next video, lovelies, stay safe, stay as sane as possible, and stay fabulous. Bye!